What is up, guys? Sorry I'm a little bit late to tonight's live stream. It's kind of a normal thing, right? But I was just dealing with a little technical difficulty here with my headphones and my mic setup. But I think we are good to go. I am seeing a little Wi-Fi notification or a connection notification on my screen. So if for some reason the connection's really bad, just let me know. Sometimes we deal with this and it always freaks me out a little bit. So I hope that's not going to be the case tonight. But we are going to get straight into it here. So what we have this evening, you've seen the thumbnail for tonight's stream. What we're going to be doing is putting Eagle Rare 12 year to the test up against 6 other bottles that are, you know, very comparable. Proof point, age statement, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be interacting with the live chat along the way. If you're watching this on the replay, bear with me. It's going to be a little bit free flowing. It's not going to be just a strict tasting video. We're going to hang out, have a little fun. It'll probably be 30, 40, 45 minutes at the most, I would imagine, to get through all of these. So hit that like button on your way in. What we have in front of me here are all of the 7 different bottles poured out. Let me know, by the way, guys, if my connection's okay. Looks like it should be fine, but I'm still getting a little weird notification. We have all 7 poured out in front of me. I'm going to get a warm-up pour going right now just to kind of get my palate ready to go. And instead of starting with the typical Eagle Rare 10 year, I should say, warm-up pour that I normally do, I don't want to have any Buffalo Trace on my palate before we go into this. There's plenty of Buffalo Trace in the mix. 3 different bottles represented from the distillery, but I figured we would start with something completely different. And it's one of my, recent shelfer favorites, which is the Penelope Wheated. So cheers, guys. Nice little first sip. Much younger than a lot of the other stuff we're going to be tasting tonight. So I'm going to mix these up one more time in front of you, and then I'll label the cards A, B, C, D, E, et cetera, et cetera. And then we'll just kind of go down the line, and I'm going to put these in an order. The goal of tonight's stream is to rank these 1 through 7 for the evening. So let's run down the bottles and what they are right now. You've seen the thumbnail, but we have Knob Creek 12 year. We have Michter's 10 Bourbon 2025 edition, and this is an A barrel, A0149. I'm not sure that really matters this year, but I haven't done any real digging on that. We have Weller 12, which is the 2023 Weller 12, which, in my opinion, is better than the other ones for some reason. It's even a darker color. Of course, we have the Eagle Rare 12 in the mix, which is the thing that we are primarily testing tonight. Wild Turkey 12 year. That is 101 proof, so I think probably the highest proof is going to be that Wild Turkey. We have a random E.H. Taylor single barrel. It's not a barrel pick. And finally, 1792 12 year, which is kind of the, kind of the wild card, I guess, like a bottle that doesn't get talked about very much. So those are the 7 that we have this evening. And again, we are going to find out if Eagle Rare 12 really does hold up against these other whiskeys. I've gotten some funny comments on the review video for Eagle Rare 12 already. It's been good, bad, and ugly, and emphasis on the bad and on the ugly. There have been a lot of real whiny people in the comment section and just funny things being said. So, go check that out if you haven't already, particularly the comment section. But for tonight's selections, one of the big motivating factors for some of the bottles I chose, besides people saying that these would be, good comparisons in the Patreon and the Discord for Drums and Drams, is that many folks were like, put it up against Knob Creek 12, it's going to lose, or put it up against Wild Turkey 12, it's going to lose. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it tomorrow night. So that's why we're jumping into this. So let's do one final little mix them up here, so we can just kind of reverse a few of these things. Why not bring them over here? So I mixed these up ahead of time. I wrote the answers. I poured all these. I made sure all the pours were as even as I possibly could, so that I wouldn't know, which one was which based on the fill level of the glass or anything like that. So let's just do one little final mix up here. Let's move this one. And I think we're going to be good to go. So I'm going to label it from your left to right. We're in 2 rows right now. We're going to start in this back row. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. All right, so E, F, G is going to be up in the front. So now let me get the silver Sharpie. A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And I'll show you guys along the way and turn my head while I do it. Please no spoilers in the chat as we go through this. All right. Any questions before we get going, guys? Any questions in the live chat? Please hit that like button if you haven't already. Let me know if there's any final thoughts. Buffalo Traceless, says Sugar Kitty. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We're going to sticker the glasses just so nothing gets mixed up. I think this is going to be fun. Listen, Eagle Rare 12 year, for me, it's what I've always wanted from Buffalo Trace. So am I a little biased? Maybe. Maybe I am. I think we're all biased on pretty much anything we review, especially unblind. But I gave it pretty high praise, and a lot of folks are saying that I'm full of it, that I'm paid by distilleries. Those comments don't even matter to me because they're so silly. But, you know, the people criticizing the product before even trying the product is what was driving me nuts. That was the thing that was really killing me. Okay, so let's get off to the races now. Let's go to Glass A. I'll show you guys what's in each glass before I dive in. Please, again, reminder, no spoilers in the chat. Whatever I show you, please don't say anything about it. Here we go. This is Glass A. All right, Glass A smells very, very good. I'm going to bring this mic closer to me. All right, so Glass A smells very good. This is so much chocolate and brown sugar. That is really just a chocolate bomb. It smells nice and rich, but it still has kind of a spicy oak character to it as well. Most of these are hovering right around 100 proof. You know, we have some differentiation, 90 down for Weller 12, but people wanted to see that comparison all the way up to, again, 101 with the Wild Turkey. The 1792 is 96.6. Wow, so I really like Glass A on the nose. I love this profile. It's super classic Kentucky. Again, it's just chocolate. There's some molasses in here as well, and lots of brown sugar. Wow. Yeah, that's very, very, very good stuff. Whatever that is in Glass A, super sweet. Like, makes me think of different kinds of candy bars, ice cream shop kind of notes. Man. Travis says, no Calumet 12. Harder to find that now. Yeah, I wanted to include stuff that was as relevant as possible to today. And also, the reason there are three total Buffalo Trace products in here, so 2 additional ones on top of the Eagle Rare, is just to see if Eagle Rare to me stands up to, you know, what its competition would be in the portfolio. I feel like Elmer T, like this is notably older than Elmer T, at least I would imagine. So Weller 12 is an age statement thing, and E.H. Taylor Single Barrel is like a quality proof. You know, it's a good comparison, I think. Same mash bill as well. So we'll see. Let's go to Glass B. All right, so Glass B. Huh. I don't know about... I got to move the mic closer here. Okay. So Glass B... This has like a faint dusty sweetness to it, like a faint butterscotchy kind of sweetness. And let me know, guys, if the cards for some reason aren't in focus. So, kind of a faint dusty butterscotch sweetness. But at the same time, there's something about the sweetness on here. It's syrupy. It's dark and syrupy. Wow. And when I compare it to Glass A, yeah, Glass A is just classic. Whatever is in that glass, to me, I really like how classic it is. It's a little bit more like obvious, just nose and palate. It stands out a little bit more. Maybe that's proof. Maybe that's, I don't know, just profile of whatever distillery this is. Very oaky. Very oaky. And it's a little out of balance, Glass A. Because as I move to Glass B, yes, I feel like maybe the proof could be lower, or it's just a more reserved kind of whiskey. But there's some kind of finesse to this that I really like. All right. It's a toss-up for me between A and B right now, so I can't definitively say which one is my favorite over the other. So let's go ahead and move to Glass C now. Let's get something else, something different going on here. Let's go to Glass C. So here's a reminder of what's in Glass, or, well, you're not a reminder. It's your first time seeing what's in Glass C. Ooh, okay. Interesting. So this kind of reminds me of Glass A in some ways. Not as far as the oak goes. Interesting. This is also very brown sugar forward to me. I got to get this on the palate. That one is, so Glass C to me, it's definitely the faintest of the three I think we've had so far. It's just kind of a flash of flavor and then it's gone. Second sip is better, actually. Second sip gives me more spice up front. Still kind of a shorter finish. Okay, we're going to keep moving here. I'm not going to make any decisions yet. I want to taste everything before I start thinking about stuff and moving things around on the table and reordering them. So that's a good data point. A, I think, is the oakiest. Maybe the most robust classic Kentucky kind of profile. B has like this interesting, it's somewhat delicate and somewhat refined kind of sweetness. And then C has like a spice punch up front, but then falls off quickly on the back end. So Prozac, let's take a pause real quick. Couldn't help but laugh at the terms and conditions of the Buffalo Trace giveaway that say no more than 5 bottles will be given. Dude, I actually meant to say something about this in the video that I shot. Excuse me. I've been tasting barrels all day at River Roots, so I just got home and I'm like, I'm a little, a little sweaty. I've been pulling barrel samples all day and sweating my butt off. I didn't know about the 5 bottles thing, but when I made the video yesterday, I did know that there was a giveaway, and I was going to mention that in the video. I was going to put a link to it or whatever in the description, and I forgot to do that. But then today, I saw the 5 bottles thing, and I'm like, what is going on? You just released, like, definitely over 1,000 bottles. I don't know the exact count at the Father's Day release, and now you're making a big deal out of a right to buy or a giveaway or whatever it was. I don't know if it was right to buy or if it was a giveaway. It doesn't matter. 5 bottles. You can't even spare a case. You're only going to spare 5/6 of a case? Like, what is happening? It's so funny, man. Sarah Bourbon Night. Obviously, that's an imposter account. Do we have a mod in here? All right. Ooh, Glass D. Glass D. Let me show you what's in Glass D. I listen, the nose of Glass D immediately was like, this is really nice. Hang on. Gotta keep remembering to move the mic. Okay, there's Glass D. Now, Glass D, I like the nose, and now when I come back to it, I feel like it's got a lot of spice. A lot of spice on the nose. Huh. That was odd. Huh. It has a lot of spice on the nose. Feels really like kind of peppery. At first, I thought I was getting kind of like an oak funk on the nose. I still think I am getting kind of an oak funk. Seems like there's some dark fruit going on here. But then the palate felt like, I don't know what was going on with the palate. It kind of just, huh. Okay. This is going to be tough. I'll be honest with you. I thought a lot of these bottles in this blind flight tonight were going to taste remarkably different from one another as I went through it. And a lot of these things are kind of running together. Now, I'm doing this differently than I normally would. Normally, I would go through and nose everything all at once. I've been getting a lot of complaints on videos about how long it takes for me to nose and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, you know what? For this blind flight tonight, let's just like smell and taste each thing and go down the line and then come back through and start to do some side-by-sides, but try to give you guys like the full impression of the whiskey as I go through each one of them. And I think by doing that, the space between each one of them it's tougher for me to like pick apart the differences. Whereas if I just pick up 2 glasses and do that, it's much easier for me to side by side very quickly. Because primarily I'm picking up most of what I need on the nose, information wise, and then I try to confirm on the palate. Proof is different because proof you mainly need to do it on the palate. But tonight I'm not thinking about guessing proof. Like I'm just thinking about the differences between these and what I prefer. And so, yeah, not doing them directly side by side each time is actually much more challenging as far as recognizing the differences of what I like or what I don't like. Someone in marketing took the 6th bottle and sold it on secondary, says Tom. That is hilarious. Okay, let's go to glass E. Ooh, I like that nose. This is some serious sweetness on glass E on the nose. I said I wasn't going to do it, but okay. Glass A is great. B. C. Okay. Glass D. All right. Let me show you guys what's in glass E. Glass E might be my favorite nose so far. All right. So here we go. Turn my head. Glass E on the nose. Yeah, this is just... It's candy sweet, but it's dark and syrupy. Yeah. It's soft on the mid palate for just a second, but honestly, this has quite a bit of spice, considering the fact that most of these are, lower proof products. I'm going to go ahead and put this note card down. Again, please no spoilers in the chat, guys. All right, so that was glass E. I like that a lot. Let's keep going. Go quickly through these. All right, glass F. Let me show you what's in this one. Glass F. This is similar to E in some ways. But it's just a kind of a different drinking experience than glass E. It feels more reserved overall. I would say that where the spice hits me on the palate is just different. So overall a similar profile, but where the spice is located, whether it's at the front of the sip or the back, whatever, it's almost like the opposite spice experience in this one from the previous glass. So that to me is like an interesting side-by-side I'm going to have to check out because those two definitely run together. Let me go to G now. You guys already know what's in G if you've been kind of narrowing it down in your head from the 7 that are in here, but let me show you what's in G. Wow, okay. Also very similar to the last 2, really. This has some sort of extra heft to it, though. Maybe some more fruitiness. This is going to be a really, really hard flight. So now you've seen every card. Broad stroke impressions right up front here. We have 133 people hanging out. Thank you guys for being here. I know the junkies are going to go on. I know people are going to be in and out, watch the replay, all that kind of stuff. But hopefully this is a good opportunity to kind of check out the comparison between Eagle Rare 12 and some of these others in this flight. So broad strokes up front here very quickly. The last 3, the back 3, all smell similar to me. Again, I'm not trying to guess what's what in here. There are 3 bottles from the same distillery in this flight. But again, I'm not trying to guess because I've been wrong enough times now that trying to think about that while I do this is only going to cause problems for me. Glass A, oakiest of the bunch. Maybe the most classic kind of profile of the bunch. That's glass A. B was the one I thought had this kind of like sophisticated sweetness to it in some ways. A little nuttiness. It's almost like fatty cashew nuttiness, not really like peanut in glass B. I'll remind you what's in glass B very quickly. Okay. Maybe an acetone note in B, although I'm not sure. Something about that, though, that stands out in a slight negative way. Okay, we'll keep moving. C is like, C is like really dark. Really, really dark on the nose. I don't know if I picked that up last time. I'll remind you again what C is. There you go. Okay. C is up there for me. And right now I'm just thinking about kind of these first four that I'm talking about, because the back three were very similar. We'll kind of address those in a second, but the first four, I think I've got C over B. I think I've got C over B. Yeah, I do. So that's one decision I've made so far to try narrowing this down. Frankie, it's a Tuesday night. Honestly, I miss doing these like Tuesday streams. They used to be 7:30, or I actually used to do them at 7 to give myself some buffer time. Some at 7:30, I think, maybe. But before the junkies went on, and I would do like a quick flight. This is going to be a little longer flight, so I apologize if you guys miss out on the beginning of their stream. I think they're interviewing someone from Stranahan's, maybe the head distiller there or something like that. All right, let's keep moving. Glass D. I believe this is the one. Yeah, this has like a very sharp... The first nosing of this, I got the funk and I liked it, and then I came back to the nose and I said it was kind of sharp. When I go to it right now, the only thing I can get is sharpness for some reason. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, it's almost not pleasant for me on the nose for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of what I've led into it with, or I don't know. The palate. Okay. That's basically, to me, Glass D is like the most different of all of these, I think. Like, it stands out the most, and so does Glass A. A because it's the oakiest and most classic again, but D because it's got this sharpness to it that... Bourbon Junkies in the chat. And that's not the real Bourbon Junkies, I do not believe. Man, we're getting some bots. We're getting, not bots, but we're getting spam. We're getting some people in the chat tonight. That's funny. Honestly, you know what? I'll take that as a positive sign. Okay. So for me, I think D can so far be my least favorite. The trolls are out tonight, Jonathan. D so far is my least favorite out of these first four. My favorite is probably tied between A and C. So let me move these around now. We got B here. Yeah, I listen, you know what I get on B? B is very reserved for some reason. I get like blueberries. I get a lot of berry notes for B. Thank you, Travis. The trolls are out tonight. It's funny, huh? I do like B more than D for sure. D is just really affected by what comes before it, I think. And it's sharp, but it's not doing for me what some of these others are doing. What's up, Pink Dan? Good to see you, man. I'm getting YouTube comments. Thought it was going to be more trolling, but actually it was a funny comment. What is happening? We're getting all these trolls in the chat. So funny. All right, let's move on. I've got kind of an initial order for the first four. Let's go back to these back three now. Let me remind you very quickly. We'll just go down the line. So here's what's in Glass E. All right, so here's Glass E. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Here is what's in Glass F. Excuse me. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Finally, glass G. There you go. 3, 2, 1. Amy, what's up? Yeah, I don't listen. If you read the chat, I have no idea what's going on. Oh man, the nose on G. So let me nose these now very quickly. E, F, and G kind of all side by side. I'll just bring the glasses to me here. Okay. What I'm looking for here between these three, because the profiles are very similar, I'm just looking for depth. I'm looking for richness, something to differentiate from one to the next. Or on the other side of things, if any of these feel particularly younger or anemic or brighter for, in a negative way, grain forward, whatever the case may be, although I don't expect many of these to be that grain forward at the ages that most of them are. But if anything negatively stands out, that's also going to be like a good pick point for me as I kind of make these decisions. So glass E. This is sweet. This is like, it's got a little funnel cake vibe to it. It's got like, kind of like the blueberry note that I got on glass B, but it's more like blueberries and blackberries. I really like it. I really like the sweetness on this first glass. Very, very, very soft and crushable on the palate. Yinstube says, I'm sure you've addressed this, but what's your take on the bourbon market at the moment? God, I mean, that's such a broad question. I hate to cop out. I'm going to keep moving through this. If you just want me to answer that the best that I can, just tell me and I'll do my best. Or if you can like be a little more specific, that would be helpful, because this is just like a general statement. A lot of people, what's up, Justin? I owe you a text, bro. It's been a very fast-paced day, actually. I get a lot of, like, I've asked for questions for the channel before, and some people are like, what do you think about this distillation technique? Or how do you think about, like, fermentation times? Or what do you think about the, insert business concept of the bourbon market? And I'm like, I'm not an expert. Like, I'm not a distiller. I'm not an expert on fermentation times and stuff like that. I can spitball, but I have no real world experience, and so I can't speak on it. Same thing with the business side of bourbon. Like, I've seen many different sides of the business in almost in like a survey kind of way. Like, I've surveyed many different sides of the business, from consumer to creator to, picking barrels and working with retailers and stuff like that. So I have like a cursory knowledge of a lot of things in the industry, and maybe that's helpful to some degree, but I don't have like real expert knowledge in the investing side or like the market side of what's going on. So I can do my best, but it's more helpful if the question's more specific, because I don't necessarily have like a thesis on the market at the moment. I have some thoughts, as I look to possibly start my own NDP in the next 18 to 36 months or whatever, but still not solid, All right, so that was glass E. Let me go to glass F now. All right, glass F, like I mentioned, I'm looking for either something really standing out in a positive, like dark, rich, extra concentrated, sweet way, or I'm looking for something the opposite. This is kind of maybe the brighter, especially between E and F. F is definitely brighter. I feel like I get more spice here. I get a little bit more vanilla and honey sweetness from this. Certainly more spice. Like, without a doubt, more spice on that one compared to E. So the drinking experience is more interesting. But profile-wise, I kind of prefer glass E to glass F. So before I go back and I look at the question more specifically here in the live chat, let me go back. Let me go to glass G one more time. Okay, favorite nose easily between the three. Easily is glass G. Easily. This is very, very sticky sweet. It's like Cinnabon. It's got a lot of like pastry sweetness to it. And like it's got some chocolatey notes, almost a hint of coffee, almost in there, like some oakiness, hint of coffee. Maybe I should just say dark chocolate. It's nice. Doesn't quite have the spice that Glass F had. However, everything else about it for me is broader, wider, sweeter on the palate. So for me, Glass G is my favorite out of the back three. Between E and F, it comes down to whether you want the drinking experience to be a little spicier or if you want the profile to be a little bit sweeter and darker. On the nose, I go E. For sure, I go E. Let me go in reverse order now. F on the palate. I mean, listen, the spice of F, it's really nice. It's really nice. It's got a little pepperiness to it. Okay. Oh, but that nose on E and that profile. It's a bit of a toss-up. But definitively, I can say that G is in my top. And I believe I can already put G over B and D from the first four, so I'll check that next, which would mean that G is then a top three for me, and I need to just go through those top three to figure out the order, and then I can do the back four. So if that might be a little confusing. I feel like I need like a visual on the screen to show you guys where I'm at and what I'm placing where. But G, I think, is definitely in the top three. All right, let me scroll back here very quickly. If you guys are just now jumping in, please hit the like button if you don't mind. All right. So this was the initial question. Take on the bourbon market at the current moment. More specifically, views down across whiskey tube, secondary down in pockets, etc. The whiskey tube thing, is that true? That views are down across whiskey tube? Like, obviously, I'm not a good example of that because my channel has been the slowest, like, uphill climb ever. I mean, I've been doing this for almost 5 years. We're just now hitting 12K subs, but we have, like, in my opinion, we have probably the most involved, like, dedicated group of folks following the channel, and most specifically in the Patreon. So, shameless plug, $5 or $10 a month, join the Patreon. The Discord server that we have is, like, popping off all the time. Like, it's so much great whiskey discussion, life discussion. People are really involved, sharing samples, sharing barrel picks that we do. You can get in on our barrel picks. We're dropping about 450 bottles at a time. Like, usually about 450 bottles every 3 weeks is what we're dropping, which is crazy. That's the Patreon plug. Link in the description. But I don't feel like I've seen viewership go down. What I think I've seen is you've seen channels like kind of fall off, right? Like, it's Bourbon Night, the Chad and Sarah kind of, you know, the split there with the channel, then the other Chad coming in. So we've got that. We've got David and Jamie from Whiskey Row, like kind of turning that into the one row and not really doing whiskey content so much anymore. Who else? I mean, other people have fallen off too or changed things up. But I don't really see that as like a viewership being down. Those are all like personal situations for those people that have made those decisions happen. And I don't think viewership is really down. Now, if it is, that's one thing. I think people are going to come and go. So that brings me to kind of like my next thing. I promise we'll get back to the flight here in just a second. But I mean, we kind of like, as humans, we operate in cycles. For me, it's like every 4 years. It's just like being in high school, being in college. Like every 4 years, I feel myself drawn to something else. And like I've already hit that and left that with Whiskey Tube, and I'm like, all right, I think I really like to do this, and it's a great part of my life, and it's here to stay. But some folks, I think, hit that point, which many of them are just now basically hitting 4 years in because they started sometime during COVID. I started kind of earlier on, like October of COVID is when I made the channel. Didn't post until November. Some folks started like maybe the spring of 21 or summer of 21, which now it's about 4 years. I think people just move in cycles. And I think that's not just for the creators. That's also probably for the people drinking the whiskey. And a lot of the people drinking the whiskey, sorry to go on a soapbox, a lot of us have self-control issues and addictive personalities. And I think I've seen a lot of people in the last 3 to 6 months say like, hey, I have a self-control problem and I'm going to stop this altogether, like cold turkey, no more whiskey. And good for them. You know what I mean? And I think that's going to happen to a lot more of us, that people are recognizing that about themselves. And doing something like this in moderation is tough. It really is. So I think you just see like a life cycle for certain people. And now the people moving into it right now aren't feverishly moving into it like we were during COVID when we were all seeking community at a time when we were locked down in our houses. Okay, so that's that. And then secondary's falling, but we're just seeing supply of things go through the freaking roof, especially single barrel picks, River Roots, Rare Character, News, all these companies, all these NDPs, Subtle Spirits, Augusta, they're cranking out all these barrel picks, and it's like there's only so much we can take, you know, because there's a big general audience for whiskey, but there's a not so big hardcore enthusiast audience. So you're selling to the same people. Okay. Oh, so Sugar Kitty says not only views are down, but rates for the same views are down. Other really big channels in trouble as YouTube is squeezing them. Interesting. But yeah, there is definitely going to be a glut incoming, depending on if people, you know, try to take advantage of false scarcity and stuff. They're probably not going to be able to some degree. They're probably going to have to move those products into the NDP market just to get cash on hand for those barrels. They're going to sit otherwise. But yeah, I think there's a lot going on, but I don't think bourbon is like, I don't think it's going to fall off and be totally dead. And I have a lot of other thoughts, but I'll save those for another time. I want to get back to this flight here. Okay, so let me go ahead and compare G, which I think is going to be my top 3. Reminder of what G is. There you go. 3, 2, 1. All right. I think that's going to be my top 3. All right, listen, that's really free. Whatever that is. G is very good, especially on a fresh palate after yapping that much, you know? Damn, that's good. Okay, I gotta check my work here, though. Go back to E. Yeah, that is sweeter. Very light on the palate. I don't know that I can put E over F. I just don't think I can do it. I think even though I love that profile, I think F is just the better whiskey given the way that it drinks. I'm gonna go with that, but for me personally, I would switch them. But I'm gonna go with what I think the objectively better whiskey is in this case. All right, so top 3 for me. Yeah. Top 3 for me. Hang on. I got things I got to move around just so I can keep this all straight on my end. All right. Well, we'll just kind of be disorganized here. Top 3 for me are A, C, and G. So I'll give you a quick reminder of what those are. A, C, and G. So here we go. Here's A, 3, 2, 1. These are in no particular order. C, 3, 2, 1. And G, 3, 2, 1. All right, so no particular order here. I'll just pick a random one to go first. Reminder, guys, please no spoilers in the chat. No spoilers in the chat. Because if a mod deletes them, I can still see them. Because I'm in StreamYard, I'm not in YouTube right now. Oh, wow. Glass C, man. Such elevated sweetness on Glass C. Little banana maybe on Glass C. Like, yeah, maybe a little banana in here. But the vanilla sweetness, and there is kind of like a maybe a little grapiness to this. The thing about C, for the amount of sweetness, Justin, that's hilarious, bro. For the amount of sweetness that I get on the nose for C, the palate shows it for a second, and then it turns into just like a lot of woody spice, and it doesn't, that cohesively didn't work for me. It transitioned from, I mean, I'm like, you smell this, it's like, holy crap. You guys are funny. I smell this and it's like, holy crap, that smells amazing. Whether or not that's your profile is a different story, but you can't deny just how sweet this is on the nose and how like cooked down and you know, yeah, concentrated, reduced the sweetness is. It's awesome. It's so dessert-like. Then you take the sip. There's the sweetness. Boom. Sour, tannic, spice. All spice now. All sour oak tannin, all spice. And I appreciate the fact that that feels like an older whiskey from the middle to the finish, and it feels like a super sweet whiskey up front. But those two things didn't work together on the palate at all in that glass. Now, do I still think that's better than what I was tasting in what is my back row, my bottom four? Yes, but I do need to double check it. So let me move. I'm going to go in this order. I'm going to go to G now after C. Okay, so on the nose, G is, it's not jumping out of the glass with as much sweetness, but it is darker. Like there's not as strong of like a vanilla top note or like a super desserty top note. It's just darker overall. Maybe a little bit simpler on the nose for me. But I really like that profile for a very different reason. Yeah. All right, so let me take a sip of G now. So G is steadier the entire time. More cohesive. Again, like the nose, it's a little bit simpler. But it didn't have that like oaky, that transition in the mid palate that C had that made me not a fan of it. Let me do one more sip of C here. Frankie, I don't own an Evan Williams 12. That's a toss-up because even though C has that moment in the mid palate where it turns, it's still a really solid whiskey. So that is a very, very tough thing between G and C here. So I'm going to go to A and kind of mull that over here for a second. All right, let's go to A. Man, I mean, come on, A. That is like... I mean, A is very nice. A tickles me somewhere. You know what I mean? It does a little something for me. Yeah, trolling and having fun is a fine line. Tony, I wonder how Old Stubborn would compare to the winter. About the same age, so the proof is a bit higher. Those new bottles are looking fancy. Tony, I've heard that I've heard that people are not loving those bottles. At least people in our Discord. They are all single barrels, are all different. Some different mash bills, very different yields, very different proofs. But I think I have a few samples maybe on the way from some folks. Going to be interested to try those. Excuse me. All right, this flight is taking a little while, 44 minutes in, but I think it's worth it. All right. A's kind of nutty. There's something about G. So C has that problem in the mid palate. I've got to put that under G. I just do. All right. So G and A are my top two. Let me go to A now and get a sip of this. This is tough because these could not be more different profiles, A and G. A is awesome. It's kind of smoky. Like very, very char forward in A. Let me remind you one more time what A is. Again, please no spoilers. this is very char forward, little nuttiness to it, tons of oak going on here. And like from the get-go, at the start of this flight, when I first smelled it, it was the first thing that I smelled. A just has so much oak presence to it that I like it. It feels like old whiskey. And so automatically, you know, you get some bonus points if it just smells like old whiskey. Prozac, are you familiar? I have bottles. I need to clean up in here. I have bottles everywhere. Are you familiar with any of the Sea Dolly single barrels? I grabbed a Sea Dolly Heaven Hill 15, but honestly, no idea what I even bought. Yeah, I've got it right here. We're not going to talk about it right now. We can talk about it at a different time. It's a very interesting. I mean, it's a very interesting 15-year Heaven Hill. Okay, I will come back to my winner. We'll let those sit. Let's reorder my last 5 now. So in my current configuration, last place is the one that I felt was just overly spicy. That's what's in last place right now. And then glass B is the one that I had some berry notes to it. Maybe a little acetone. I think I said that. Kind of softer on B. Glass E. So sweet, but this is the one that had that flat palate. The palate is just so flat, you know. It's got that, yeah. It's got that weeded thing to it, Glass E, where you're like, all right, if that's a weeded bourbon, I give it a pass. But at the same time, the proof's in the pudding when it's in a blind flight like this. It just tastes kind of watery in the mid. So no matter why it tastes that way, it's to its detriment, you know. I think F has to win all of these. I think that F is definitely 4th place. Okay, D, as I go to D now, let me remind you what's in D. This is currently in last place. As I go to D now, I'm picking up some nuttiness coming off of glass F. Still some funk on here, like oak funk. It's just sharp for the sake of being sharp. That's gonna, I mean, it has spice, but it's gonna stay down there. And now B and E. This is gonna be an interesting one. HL says, Walter Jimmy Russell 70th 8 year was the real winner for me this year. Solid dram and wide MSRP availability. That was, honestly, for the price point, a very good pour. All right. I do like B. There's just that sharp acetone note to B that holds it back a little bit for me. Even though the palate is decent for, you know, again, between like 90 and 100 proof is what we have here. Excuse me. All right, I'm going to be selfish and keep E over B. So the back 4 are set. 3rd place is set, which means we now have to decide the 1st place winner between A and G. I don't know how I can... these profiles could not be more different between these two. Again, one last time to remind you, Glass A, so oaky, so good. And now Glass G, which is the complete opposite of this of that Glass A profile. This is just dark and somewhat, I mean, they're both actually kind of simple, like for what they are, but they just execute on their profiles so well that you can't argue with it. Some of these others feel like they want to be complex whiskeys, but they fall apart somewhere along the way, whether it's Glass D being just overly spicy for no real reason, it seems. Glass B is fine, but it's got the acetone note. Glass E is the one that's kind of flat, but shows a lot of age and sweetness. Glass F, again, a lot of spice, but doesn't quite back it up. It's honey sweet, but it doesn't quite back it up with enough heft. Glass C is the one that transitions in the mid-palate very strangely to like this tannic oaky thing. And now we're up to these two, which are probably the two most simple pours of the night. By comparison, they're not trying to be anything special, but they just taste really, really good, and they drink well, and they're kind of cohesive all the way through, and that's what I'm really looking for tonight, you know? So that was Glass A. It's very oaky. Actually, I need to just reword that. It's leathery. Like, that is leather all the way, Glass A. And the leathery finish is long. It's not a spicy finish at all, but it's a leathery finish. That just hangs on the palate. Okay, Glass G. God, I just can't. I cannot get over Glass G on the nose. I've said this the entire time. The nose of this is so freaking good. A is great too on the nose. Again, very classic. Some peanut shell in there. A little Texas Roadhouse on Glass A. But Glass G is just sweet. It's pastry sweet all the way through. It's more pleasant. A, it's more pleasant. A little more crushable, but more pleasant. A is more angular. Yes, it tastes older. I could tie these. And cop out. I mean, that's where I'm at. It's like I love them both for such different reasons. I think I think A is rougher around the edges. A is rougher around the edges than Glass G. But I love the oak. Man. It's just the cohesiveness of G. Amy, any bottle guesses tonight? Sure, I could do that. If you want. Let me think about it. I'll think about it once let me set my order first, and I'll think about it real quick. Because I've got pretty good mental notes on all of these. Like I ran down the bottom 5, and I'm on these. I feel like I've got mental notes on all these bottles. Give me a second. I'll write them down too, so that I'm literally. At this point, I'm accused of cheating on everything I do on the channel, which is so silly, but I get it. I would be skeptical of certain things too, but people that have been here for a few years know that that's not the case. I can't get away from Glass G. A is like tried and true. What do I do, guys? Like, this is the way I think of this. What would I pick in a barrel pick? That's when I do something like this and I'm trying to pick my favorite, I try to treat it like a barrel pick. The only knock on A, besides being kind of rough around the edges the entire way through, is that it does get very tannic. It's very tannic. That's not always a bad thing, but for me, like, if I'm looking for a whiskey, because the way I'm treating this flight, for me, I'm trying to treat this objectively in the sense that, like, I put F over E, even though I like E's profile better because F drinks better, and I have to just go with the fact that I think, objectively, I think more people are going to pick that because not even that more people are going to pick it. I just think that it drinks better, and you have to give that credit where credit is due and not be clouded by the fact that you like the profile of this one better and you're just going to put it over everything. Because I could put E over everything because I love the profile, but I don't think it's the best whiskey here. So I'm trying to take that approach to all of this. That's why I'm calling out A specifically on how tannic it is on the back end. Very tannic, but good. This is almost like the debate between, I don't know. It's like if that's Russell's 15, what is this? Calumet 18 maybe? Or, it's not a great comparison, but something like that, you know? The proof doesn't help because these are different proofs. It's obvious that A is a higher proof. That's what makes this difficult, is because it drinks a little bit more intensely. All right, I'm going to give myself 30 seconds to make this decision. All right, I'm watching the clock on my phone. Okay. All right, that's G. I had it after water. I got to do one more sip. That's G. And last time on A. Damn it. All right. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it where it is, I think. I'm going to leave A in first place. G is going to be in second. If you guys want guesses, let me think about this. The I said was hot, funk. I'm going to write this down. D was the hot funk one. B was had some berries and acetone, kind of soft. E was the soft one. I really loved the profile, but it was objectively just not probably as good as F, which was similar profile. It was in the three that we started with. F, more spice, honey forward, so it's probably this. C had that break in the mid. Yeah. Okay, so C, G. If I'm right, people are gonna... I told you so. That's what's gonna happen. Ready? Although I didn't fight them on this. Here are my guesses. They're in the correct order now. All right, my guesses are here. You could zoom in if you really want to, check. D, Turkey 12. B, 1792. E, Weller 12. F, E.H. Taylor Single Barrel. C, Michter's 10 in third place, which is crazy, but if that's what that is, that would be a wild placement. It's just that it broke so bad in the mid palate. G, Eagle Rare 12 is what I think that probably is. And A, Knob Creek 12. So let's go down the line. Last place, Glass D, hot, funky. It was intense, but for what reason? Yeah, intense, but for what reason? It didn't do well tonight. And you know what? I would have guessed that. Like, when people were giving me suggestions about what to put in this flight, Turkey 12 didn't cross my mind because it's a bottle to me that always had like so many imperfections with it. It's really good if it's the only thing you're drinking in a night. But for me, it has like, I always felt that it reminded me of like MGP, like high rye MGP, but it just didn't have enough character to it for some reason. So, and that tracks. Like for me, it's not a great pour for me, and tonight it ended up in last place. Like that tracks me. So B, you got, and listen, I wasn't going to guess tonight. I didn't want to do this because then people are like, well, you based all your answers on your guesses. No, I didn't. I went through this the first time and I had no clue what anything was because I was like, what's going on here? Maybe that's because I was going through barrels at River Roots earlier, some older rye whiskeys. But B, I said was 1792 12 year. Okay, there you go. So this is the one that I said had some berry notes, but it had this acetone quality that was so prevalent. Again, if it's the only thing you're drinking in the night or you're warming up with it, it's great. But when you put it next to these other things that are more complete and don't have that acetone note, it really stands out. Not a bad whiskey by any means. Like I really do like the berry notes on this. Glass E. I said that's Weller 12. And I'd rank this over F because I like the profile of this. This might not be Weller 12, but whatever it is, I prefer the profile over F, but F drank better. So let's see. There you go, Weller 12. Okay. So that's always been my profile. I've always loved Weller 12, and I've just wished it was 100 proof. But you have to be realistic about it, and it's flat on the palate. It's just flat. All right, Glass F. This was, so E, F, and G were in the back in the beginning, and I said they all three smelled the same, which meant they were probably all the Buffalo Trace products. And so this, if it's more honey forward, more intense, it's probably the E.H. Taylor single barrel, but I don't know. Okay, E.H. Taylor, there we go. Not a bad whiskey at all. This is like the middle ground. It's fourth place. It's that breaking point in here where it's like, all right, we're getting serious now as far as like overall completeness of the whiskey. Alan, you're absolutely right. Like, that's why I didn't want to guess tonight, because it doesn't do anybody any good for me to guess these at the end. But if I do guess, it's best to do it at the end and not along the way. Like, I wasn't thinking about what these were along the way. I've been, again, wrong enough at this point that when you start doing that and you start hedging your bets and making your guesses based on what you think they are, it is not, that's just not how you should do a blind flight. But in this case, at the end, I feel like I had enough of an idea. So Glass C, I think that's Michter's 10 is what I said. My problem with this, listen, these are all single barrels, as are the E.H. Taylors. Anything else in here? No, those are the only two. This is a single barrel, if this is Michter's 10. And I didn't, like, this is a 2025. I don't really care for it this year, at least this particular single barrel. This kind of shows me why, because in this flight, it was very obvious what was wrong with this whiskey. Wrong, in very large quotations. The nose was so good on this whiskey, but the palate, it fell apart. So much sweetness, delicious up front. Mid palate, it goes totally sour. All oak spice, all tannin. The sweetness is gone. It's a very strange drinking experience, and it could just be that single barrel and the proof point not working for that single barrel, because they proof everything down to 94.4. So if a particular single barrel doesn't work at that proof, but they have to go to that proof point, you're just left with a whiskey that just kind of fell apart because of the water that was added. That's like my interpretation of what's going on here. So let's see what it is. Okay, there we go. Michter's 10. So I think, listen, so it's Eagle Rare is in second place. There you go. And Knob is in first place. There you go. All right. So those are my guesses. Look, the Eagle Rare to me, in the beginning, I don't want to say it wasn't obvious to me that that was the Eagle Rare by any means. But what was obvious to me right away when I smelled it, which is the last glass when I went through, it was Glass G. It was over here. The nose was so good. It was like immediate difference in the nose. Came back to it, same sensation. Like, holy shit, the nose is so good. Then you get it on the palate, and it's like, hey, this took everything from the Weller 12 and the E.H. Taylor single barrel, and it brought them together. It basically had the darkness of the Weller 12 and the drinking experience, for the most part, of the E.H. Taylor single barrel, which is a higher proof by 5 proof points. It brought those together with an amazing nose and a profile that just works. Like, it's kind of simplistic in comparison to some of these others that are trying to be complex. But the fact is, when they're trying to be complex, like I said earlier, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes simplicity is the key. Delicious whiskey is the key, and something that tracks from front of the palate into the finish the entire way with no bumps or bruises. That's what the Eagle Rare did. Now, the reason I left Knob Creek in the front here for tonight, would I choose to drink Knob Creek 12 right now over the Eagle Rare? No, I wouldn't. I would choose the Eagle Rare, unblind, because I think the Eagle Rare, again, it's a more pleasant drinking experience. I said that in the flight. And the Knob Creek is rougher around the edges, and it's very, very tannic in the finish. I love the Knob Creek. The rating for the Knob Creek that I would give it needs to go up. It really needs to go. I think I maybe gave it like an 81 or something in my initial video. That would need to go up for me. Do I think it's an objectively better whiskey than the Eagle Rare? I don't know. Like, I'm basically tied on these for a different reason. But for tonight, I gave the nod to the Knob Creek because it drank a little more intensely, and that's because of the proof point, and because Jim Beam has more spice, has more tan and more nuttiness, more oakiness. So it has a little bit more of a mouth-gripping thing that's going on there to add excitement. But listen, this Eagle Rare 12, I stand by my assessment yesterday in the video. I think it's phenomenal. It's 8:45. We don't need to drop F-bombs. I think it's phenomenal whiskey. I think Knob Creek 12 is still the most underrated bottle in the market. I've always said best value in whiskey is Knob Creek 12 year over the last couple of years. As other things have skyrocketed, this has been a $60, $70 shelf, staple out there. And it's slept on because it's pretty widely available. All right, let me check the chat now. All right, let's see. Would Jack 12 have been unfair? Yes. That's why I didn't put Jack 12 in here, because the proof point was too high. 107 is not it's not going to play well with these. Honestly, like, if I could have stayed between 92 and 97, I would have preferred that, but we are doing, what are we doing? We're doing 90 up to 101. It's a little too, honestly, like, that's a little too wide for me for proof. Because there's a big difference between 90 and 101, especially when you move from distillery to distillery. If you go from like Weller 12 to the Wild Turkey 12, that is about as big of a spice and proof gap as you could have in this flight, All right, so what do you guys think? I mean, I feel like this went kind of how I would have expected it to go, except the Michter's 10 placement. I had not really dug in, as you can see. Like, this is very full. I have not really dug into this bottle of Michter's 10. Haven't reviewed it yet for the year. Now I kind of know what I'm going to say about it. But I would not have guessed that would be in third. I would have thought Michter's might have won this entire thing, as it should, given the price point. Incognito, what's up, Lawrence? So, since you're usually down to clown, what's the laser code of your Weller 12? It's a L23. And these are... yeah, L23 and then 038, which probably means the 38th day of 2023, I would guess. But at any rate, it's a 2023 Weller 12. In my review of this from 2023, I said, for some reason, this is better than all the other Weller 12s I've had, going back to the old squat bottles. And if you put the color up to the light, it's a darker color than those two. So I think they just pulled different, floors of barrels or whatever for this particular batch. But the 2023 Weller 12, amazing. In this flight, yes. Did it get fifth? Yes. I would have put it fourth. And it's a great starter pour. And I love the profile. It just needs to be higher proof. What year release was the Turkey 12? It was the first release, I think. Let me look. LLKJ. When was that? 2022? LLKJ was 2022, right? Was that like September of 2022? Let's see. No, it's October of. Is it October 22? When? Because Russell's. When did Russell's 13 Batch 3 release? Because K was the same year as Batch 3 Russell's. 2022. So this is October of 2022 that this is from. Terry says your notes on Eagle Rare 12 totally tracked your review of it. Seems solid. Listen, I think the Eagle Rare 12 is so good. I really do. Really wish Buffalo Trace would have bottled the Eagle Rare at 101 proof. Yeah, but I think then it competes too much with the Eagle Rare 17. I think they had to leave that gap. And from a business perspective, I guess I understand it. It would make more sense if you could even get your hands on the 17 ever, but it's okay. I get it. Jonathan, thank you for the super chat. Lawrence, thank you as well, man. I forgot to say that. You're producing some of the best whiskey bourbon YouTube content. If anyone, keep it up. Give us some of your thoughts on Buffalo Trace creating artificial scarcity. Jonathan, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate the kind words, too. Phil, real quick, says he's got an L23. I really like mine, too. It's significantly better than the 2020 that I used to have. So, Jonathan, artificial scarcity from Buffalo Trace. Listen, the more that I've gotten involved, and for those of you who are going to tune out and go check out live streams and jump off here, whether you're watching live or on the replay or whatever, thank you for being here. Please hit the like button on your way out. Please consider joining the Patreon. It's literally $5 or $10 a month. Supports the channel, allows me to create these reviews and do this on top of my full-time gig as an orchestra musician, which is weird. It's a weird job, but both of these things keep me busy, and they're a lot of fun, and they're very different, but both creative in their own way. So check out the Patreon. The link's in the description. Again, only $5 or $10 a month. Everything else is sold out in the upper tiers. That doesn't mean you're not going to ever get a barrel pick. We do 450 bottles or so every 3 weeks at this point. There's plenty to go around now in the $10 tier. So thank you, guys. So, Jonathan, the artificial scarcity thing, the more I've been involved in picking barrels and the more I talk to people about like brokers, like barrel brokers and the conversations they're having and what's on the market and how many of those barrels are on the market, not necessarily like a broker saying, we have 1,000 of these barrels. No one's really saying that, but more the idea of like people being able to buy 60 of this barrel at a time, and another person buying 100, another person buying 20 of them. So it's not like there's only 10 of these barrels out there of whatever we're talking about, whether it's 13-year Barton, which is about to hit the market, right? People are buying 13-year Barton, many barrels at a time right now. There's 13-year Barton. There's going to be 18-year Barton on the market here in a second. It's on the market. It's already sold basically to certain people. Older rye. There's all this stuff floating around. And when I hear all of that happening and seeing the frequency with which it's happening, we had the buff turkey craze, 15, 16. There's younger buff turkey, from what I understand, that kind of floats around in the background. Not exactly sure. I'm not an expert on that stuff. But the other stuff, like there's all this aged whiskey coming out every month in the barrel market. It shows me that there's so much availability of this whiskey. Not endless, but there's a lot. And with the size that we know Buffalo Trace is, even though they're distilling for Bowman, they're dealing with international markets, they're dealing with shelfers. They've got a lot of irons in the fire. But at that size, there's enough whiskey to go around. And I feel like I learn that more and more every day, that like there absolutely must be artificial scarcity going on. At the same time, like if you're a business, it makes sense. They're forecasting for the future. They probably don't want to dump everything into the market. They don't want to dilute their own product by selling off, 10,000 barrels into the NDP market, and then everybody has high age barrel proof Buffalo Trace available to them. Then no one's going to buy Stag Junior because they can get this other thing. I think they're trying to play it as smart as they can, given the fact that they're a gigantic operation with what I would imagine is a significant inventory. William says, orchestra music. Yeah, I'm a percussionist in an orchestra, which is not something I thought I would ever be doing, but it is what I'm doing. Is it also barrel selection too? Not all 17-year barrels are awesome. Sam, in reference to what exactly? Definitely. I mean, listen. Here's another hot take on. It's not even a hot take. It's just a prediction. I'm sorry to get off topic from this, blind flight. But my prediction is that as this bourbon glut, if it really becomes a glut, as it starts to take hold over the next, year, maybe 1 to 3 years, when every NDP has access to the same barrels, like let's say there's 5,000 barrels of, let's do something absurd. Let's say there's 5,000 barrels of 15-year Barton. Okay, that's crazy. That's a lot. But let's just say, for instance, that's the case. And in the next 1 to 3 years, we have a lot more NDPs coming to market, which would be interesting if that's the case, because it's so volatile, it feels like. But let's say that happens, and I'll probably be one of them. You know what I mean? Like, that's the plan. If there's 5,000 of those barrels and everybody's buying blind and everybody's buying 20, 25, 40, 50 barrels, what then differentiates this brand from this brand when everybody has access to the same stuff because it's all in the market, because those distilleries need to get cash on hand and put those barrels into the NDP market? Well, the differentiator is who's picking the barrels, or like that could be like a bourbon group like us, like Drums and Drams, or it could be the distillery itself, like River Roots. It could be them deciding we're going to release these 5 of the 20 we bought, and maybe they hold the other ones back to age longer. They resell them into the market. They blend with them. They proof them down and drop the price in the gift shop. Like, what's going to matter is who's picking the barrels. In a few years, when the glut is happening, if it really does happen, it's going to matter who's picking the barrels. It will no longer be a hype and FOMO issue in the market, in my opinion. So now we're getting into some of the hot takes. Sorry. I don't think it's going to be FOMO and hype anymore, because there's going to be availability. It's going to be a talent issue. It's going to be a trust issue. It's going to be the things that, in my opinion, actually matter in the industry, but haven't seemed to matter recently, because all we care about as consumers is like, holy shit, this company has 18-year MGP. I have to buy it no matter what the cost is. You might get a terrible barrel. I've tasted terrible 18-year MGP in the last 4 months from NDPs, right? I've tasted it. It wasn't good. It was one barrel, but it wasn't good. So right now we're selling based on hype, FOMO, and stats. And hopefully in 1 to 3 years, if the glut happens, we're going to be selling on the talent or marketing, maybe, or creativity of the person picking the barrels or blending with them, or what they're doing with those barrels. I think that's going to be the key moving forward. And I think that's what always should have been important to people, is the quality of the whiskey, the person they trust to pick it or blend with it or do something with it, whether it's a group or whether it's a distillery. That is what to me is truly important. And that's kind of my MO with doing barrel picks, and hopefully the trust that we build with the Drums and Drams community. But it hasn't been important, because if you get your hands on this one barrel of Heaven Hill 20, well, Jesus Christ, I'm going to spend $2,000 and not think twice about it. When that's widely available, you're not going to buy every $2,000 bottle you see. Okay, there we go. I got it off my chest. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging out tonight. I'm not sure how this live stream is going to, if it's going to be rewatched or not. It's kind of long-winded. I've been long-winded recently because I've been out of practice with shooting videos. I shoot videos like once every 2 weeks, and if I'm not doing it consistently, I'm just out of practice with it. So appreciate you being here and bearing with me through it. I hope it was a fun blind. To me, it just confirms that Eagle Rare 12 is great, and it confirms even further that I love Knob Creek 12 and that I should have rated it higher. And I'll have to correct that one day. So there we go. Cheers, guys. I'm going to wrap up with a final sip. Wait, did I already pour more of this? I guess I did. Must have blacked out. All right, so one final sip of Eagle Rare 12-year, because I think it's great. I really do. Live stream Thursday night, guys. I'm going to give away one of these bottles of Eagle Rare 12. Got an extra one. So that's it. Cheers, and I'll see you soon here on Drums and Drams.